A quiet home in Middle Tennessee, a man, his wife, a normal evening, and then a brutal murder. On September 8th to 9th, 2018, in Manchester, Tennessee, 54-year-old James Rick McCoy stood accused of something unthinkable: the fatal shooting of his wife, Lisa, followed by attempts to hide the evidence. What happened that night? And how did it lead to a prison sentence of 30 years? This is the story of James Rick McCoy. It was a quiet September night in Manchester, Tennessee, a small town where people rarely locked their doors and neighbors still waved from their porches. But on the night of September 8th, 2018, something unthinkable happened behind one of those doors. Police would later describe it as one of the most disturbing crime scenes they had ever encountered. Inside a modest home on Skinner Flat Road, a 46-year-old woman named Lisa Jones McCoy was found dead, her body showing signs of both gunfire and dismemberment, and the person accused of killing her was her husband, James Rick McCoy. Investigators arrived in the early morning hours after receiving a tip that something was terribly wrong. When they entered the home, the scene was gruesome. Lisa had been shot several times in the head, and her remains showed evidence of an attempted dismemberment. Her legs had been severed, and signs of cleaning could be seen throughout the home. Police immediately suspected that someone had tried to cover up the crime. Standing nearby, calm but visibly shaken, was James McCoy himself. He was taken into custody without a fight. Detectives later learned that the couple's son had been inside the home that night, asleep while the killing took place. At first, investigators struggled to understand what led to such a horrifying act. Neighbors described James and Lisa as quiet, somewhat private people. There were no public signs of violence or abuse, no police reports, no shouting matches heard through the walls. But behind closed doors, the relationship may have been crumbling. Authorities pieced together the timeline. Sometime late that night, an argument erupted between the couple. It's unclear exactly what sparked it. Maybe something small, maybe something that had been building for years. But at some point, James McCoy grabbed a gun and shot his wife multiple times. What happened next only deepened the horror. After realizing what he'd done, James attempted to destroy evidence, cleaning parts of the crime scene, tampering with what he could, and even dismembering Lisa's body in a desperate effort to hide the evidence. It's the kind of post-crime behavior investigators say they rarely see, even in domestic homicides. When police confronted McCoy, he didn't try to run. He was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, abuse of a corpse, and domestic violence. For years, the case wound its way through the Tennessee courts. Prosecutors built their case around the brutality of the crime, calling it deliberate and cold-blooded. Defense attorneys, meanwhile, said little publicly, leaving much of the motive a mystery. Finally, in February 2023, more than 4 years after Lisa's death, James Rick McCoy stood before a Tennessee judge. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison for the murder of his wife. The sentencing brought a measure of closure to Lisa's family, but the emotional scars remain. Her loved ones described her as kind, hardworking, and deeply loved. Someone who didn't deserve to have her life end in such a horrific way. The case stunned the Manchester community, not just because of the violence, but because it happened in a place where people believed things like this didn't happen. Behind every quiet home, behind every couple who seems fine on the outside, there can sometimes be pain that no one else sees. Today, James McCoy sits in a Tennessee prison, serving out his 30-year sentence. Lisa's name lives on, a tragic reminder of how quickly domestic disputes can turn deadly, and how silence can sometimes hide unimaginable violence. If you found this story compelling, consider subscribing for more true crime documentaries like this one. Every case we cover shines a light on victims who deserve to be remembered, not for how they died, but for who they were. Thanks for watching True Crimes of the Dirty South.